Hi there, my name is Daniel Scott and I am an Adobe certified instructor for InDesign, and this is the 2019 updates for Adobe InDesign. Now what I've done here is I've gone through and put them in the order from most exciting to most obscure. Okay, there are also exercise files. So if you want to play along exactly like I do in this video, there'll be a link on the page here somewhere to download those. The other thing you might do is if you're new to InDesign, you might check out my full course, InDesign Essentials. If you're pretty good at InDesign already, check out my InDesign Advanced. All right, let's just get started. All right, first up, if you are playing along and you've downloaded the exercise files, open up the newsletter. Okay, it's the only file you can open. And let's talk about the very first feature, and it's unavoidable. It's this properties panel. It's the talk of the InDesign town. You either love it or you hate it. I'm in the love it, so I'm going to try and convince you the same, but I'll show you how to turn it off. Basically, it's the same panel that's been put into, it's been in Illustrator for a little while, and Photoshop just got it this version, and it's contextually sensitive, which is quite cool. So I got the background selected, nothing selected, gives me options to change the height and the width and all that sort of good stuff. But when I end up clicking on, say, this image here, I've got image options, okay? So text wrap, frame fitting, all that kind of stuff that you end up with like a bunch of panels all open if you need to. Text wrap is like this giant one. It's always in the way. Okay, so they've closed it all up, and what they've done is this little dot, dot, dot in the corner, there is more. So you can click on that and it expands out to be a bit fuller. The one I'm finding the most useful is things like paragraph styles and character styles. I find like there's a big group of panels that I have open, always in the way. So with this selected here, you can see it's got paragraph styles, character styles, got this lovely little drop down. You can apply and do stuff. I love it. But there's some things that are going to be a bit weird. You're going to have to get used to. Like this image selected, you'll be like, oh, the links panel, it's gone. Instead of just going and opening it, which you can do, just go back to the old school way, is just have a look at this quick actions and all these things. They're quite good. Like if I want to replace the file here, import file, replacement image. Oh, it's super easy, super quick. You'll find kind of 90% of everything you need just over here in the properties panel. The one thing you might not be able to live with is, I'm not sure if you noticed yet, but the control bar's gone. Okay, that's the big bar on the top here. This is the one where I'm like, I'm not sure I can live without this kind of messy, ugly bar on the top. It's too handy. I can see why they turned it off for people that are new, because man, it is daunting, and you can get a lot of the options over here. But how about me and you, just for this course, we'll try and live without the control panel, and we'll see where it falls down. One little tip I just stumbled across was some of these icons you can click whilst holding down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC, and it gives you more options. So if I have this selected and I go to, some of them don't work. Okay, so if I hold that Option key down on my Mac, Alt key on a PC, and click font size, does nothing. But I was working in here and I was like, oh, wonder if this, I don't know why, I don't know how I stumbled across this, but I was holding in the Option key and I clicked drop caps and it opens up that panel. So if you know that there's a panel that you can go into up here, it's likely to be connected to the icon next to the feature over here. Does that make sense? Kind of. I had nothing selected. The other one I found was new page, because like new page, it's not what I wanted. Okay, I've undone. I want to hold down the Option key and click it, and you get given a bit more. You can pick master pages and numbers of pages, all that sort of stuff. So some of them can be clicked, some of them can't. If you're like, no, I am old school, I can't live in this properties world, you can go up to Essentials and go back to Essentials Classic and go back to the way it was in the last version. And probably you've got your own kind of layout and things set up anyway, so you can jump back to that. But for this class, we're going Essentials. We're going to give it a try. And like I said, I've been using it for a couple of weeks now. I'm sold on the properties panel. But like me, complain if there's things that are missing and you're like, I can't believe they removed that. Adobe has, if you Google Adobe feature requests, you end up at, it starts off at this site, this wish form, and you end up at this thing called user voice. And that's how people vote on features and kind of get them to the top of the list. And it's not complaining, it's helpful criticism. All right, next feature. So this feature is called Adjust Layout. It's been over here, it's been staring at us in our brand new properties panel. And this is really amazing. So I do a lot of work across continents. So I do a lot. So in New Zealand, where I'm from, and Ireland, where I live, everything is A4. But a lot of work I do ends up being in the US. And for some banana reason, we like to use different size bits of paper. So let's say I'm gonna look at this top page up here. What I wanna do is currently, you can see I've got nothing selected. It's set to US letter. So I need to get it ready for Europe. So I need to go to A4, and like you just end up with this. That's my Go away. It's my job to show you how it works. You can see format issues, just nothing lines up anymore. So imagine if there was a button that you could click and say, I'd like you to be A4. So we won't change anything else at the moment. Let's just click OK and be ready to be amazed. Cool, huh? Just went and changed it. I love that so much. Watch, undo, redo, undo, redo. Now you might notice that this thing isn't working, so there's a little bit of prep work or at least some best practices if you work in a company where you have to go through all these different file sizes. It doesn't have to be like we're doing kind of a traditional print design, but this might be landscape portrait designs for ebooks or magazines, digital magazines, or publish online, maybe banner ads with weird formats. So I want to undo that. And before I go and change my adjust layout, I need to do some preventative maintenance. So this image selected, I'm going to say I would like you to auto fit, and I want you to be fit frame proportionately. No, this one, fit content proportionally. I always get mixed up with these. If you do too, happens to everybody. Okay, so I'm telling it to auto fit and fit content proportionately. And now if I go and change it, click on the background, adjust layout, change it to A4, get ready. Ah, so good. Now that's just a really simple page and you're like, yeah, what happens when you got lots of columns and text and things? So let's have a look. All right, I'm gonna go back, file revert. File revert, if you don't know, goes back to the last time you hit save. Okay, it's just a handy way of jumping back a few steps. Okay, so let's look at this page, more complex. There's columns, there's margins, there's things, text boxes that, I do that all the time, it's a habit. I make sure that the text box fits the edge of the text, and that's gonna throw some problems. So let's try it now. And then I'll show you how to fix it. So like, missing, overset, everything's wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna undo, and all you need to do is, you probably spotted it in there, but look at this, adjust font. You can set minimum and maximum kind of adjustments. I haven't found that to be necessary at the moment for anything that I've worked on. I'm gonna make it A4, and I'm gonna say okay, and look at that. Before, after, before, after. Just magic. The columns, the gutters, everything just adjusts. Now, what happened to the fonts? You'd be like, because what was it before? Let's have a look. So undo. So this is when it's US letter. So a couple of things to look at. This one here is 40 points and this one here is 10 points. So I'm going to turn it back. So now it's A4. Let's have a look. So 40 ended up going down to 38.6. Now it really depends on brand guidelines and like how like specific you are. If you're like, man, I can't deal with like bits of font sizes, you might have to go and adjust it now, but it gets you close. Let's look at the body copy here. You can see it's gone from 10 point to 10.1. You might be horrified. You might be like, there's no way we can live with 10.1 fonts. I guess it depends. Like to be some people, like a lot of my smaller work, I'm not going to worry about 10.1, but if you're working with a larger business and there's just lots of documents and it's going to cause lots of trouble, you could go and clear the overrides or just not adjust the font when you're adjusting the layout. One last little thing is, let's say you're not doing that whole US to metric to imperial thing. You're just doing design changes. And let's say just you personally, or the client comes back and says the margins are they're too tight. Okay, so we need to push them out. And there's just a lot of layout work you're going to have to do to fix that, right? So let's do that. Adjust the layout. And in here, I'm not going to change the page size. I'm just going to play around with the margins. So I'm going to use the inside and the outside. I'm going to bump it up some random measurement. Actually random, 30 millimeters. 30 millimeters. You can just type in measurements if you're not sure how to do it in points. I'm going to click OK and just keep an eye on like things like this. This is one of the things I'm like, it's only a small thing, but watch. Just kind of shuffled in, all the columns changed. You can see here, oh man, just really good. So even if you're not using it for like full document changes, super handy just for small like margin changes. Oh, one last thing. Bleed can be changed as well. Say you come back and we need 3 mils for everything. That's the bleed typically in my part of the world. Okay, I'm gonna click OK. And you see it just tucked it in a little bit, but it adjusted the image. I'll need to do it a bit better. Let's put it in. Let's go back to old school 6 mil. Keep an eye on this and the image down here. Click OK. Just got bigger and it drove out the image. The only thing you might have to check is, luckily this image I think is big enough or already been set to auto. So remember when we did the auto up here, this guy needs to be auto fit and that second option in. All right, that's auto adjust. That's my favorite. We did properties first because we couldn't really ignore it, but adjust layout is one of those life-changing features, in my opinion anyway. Let's look at the next life-changing feature in InDesign. And quickly before we move on, if you are enjoying this video, hit the like button. Really helps me and my teaching thing. And if you like my teaching style, hit subscribe. Also note that I've done reviews of all the new Adobe 2019 software. There'll be links to them all in the description. And if you want to hear more of my Kiwi accent and you want to, say, get up to speed with InDesign properly, I have an InDesign Essentials and an InDesign Advanced course. So just search for my name, Daniel Scott, if you want to do one of those. All right, back to the features. And this one is a big one. Okay, if you go to, imagine if there was a way you could send your PDF to a client, they could add comments and that they'd come back into InDesign. And not only would they just indicate where the changes were, they'd actually update the text. If that doesn't sound exciting for you, skip to the next feature. But for me, and a lot of people out there I know, this is amazing. It used to go to Word and there was a workaround for it. There's lots of plugins that try and do it, but Pro InDesign can't do it by itself until now. And the workflow is amazing. Let me show you how the workflow goes. So I've done this, the client, I got to send it to the client. So I got to go File, Export. Okay, it has to be a PDF for this to work. Print or interactive, it doesn't matter. Okay, and I'm just going to call it newsletter. I'm going to click Save, and I'm going to leave everything set to the default. I'm going to click Export. There's obviously text, I know, whoops. All right, so now you're pretending to be the client, or your boss, or your studio manager, or your account manager, whoever does the markup on your work. And what they need to do is they need to use Acrobat. They need to use this commenting option. Okay, commenting opens, and along the top here, I'm using the latest version of Acrobat Pro, and basically all of these, or most of these features work. Let's have a little look. Let's just put in a lid or sticky note to say, hate this image. Can't spell image or this. Okay, so great feedback, Dan. And let's have a look at some of the text. Where it gets really nice is when you go like this. I'm going to highlight this text and explain that I believe this is overset. So that's cool. You can underline stuff. I can start. There's probably loads of bad spelling in here. What I really like though is when you start doing stuff like this, when you want to insert text. And this is where it gets exciting. Maybe just exciting for me. Maybe exciting for you too, is rosemary goes best in full sunshine. I don't know what I'm adding. I don't know what I'm adding. But let's say there's a bit of text that I've left out, and my copywriter, or maybe my editor is adding things, kind of like a mini version of InCopy, if you've ever used that. Okay, so that's gonna go in there. What else is handy? I can delete stuff, so I can say, see this thing here, it says strike through text. So I'm just gonna remove this, so it's obvious. That needs to go. Needs to go. You can draw on things, you can pick a color. Where's somebody we can draw on? Haha. Super mature. Stamps, this is the one, these last few don't come through to InDesign. They're handy to know if you've never used this thing before. Okay, so if you're working in a place where you need to do this, you need to say, I am approved. Then you can do that. There's loads of cool stamps in here. I won't show you them all, but lots of dynamic ones to say this has been approved by me at this time. You can see it's actually a date and time. Has my name from my login, but this stuff is good for PDFs, but doesn't come through to InDesign. Drawing shapes does, adding attachments doesn't, but enough of this. Let's save it. So File, Save, jump back into InDesign, and this is where the magic happens. So what you need to do is under Window, let's go to PDF Comments. And this little kind of bar opens up, and that's the little icon for it. I'm gonna import the comments from my newsletter in my exercise files, newsletter PDF. You ready for the magic? Look at that, cool, huh? One thing it won't do is when I was first testing this, I was in preview mode. So if you know preview mode, or the shortcut is the W key on your keyboard, or down here, you can turn it off. To make sure you're not in preview, you gotta be in normal, otherwise they don't appear. So let's have a look. My very useful, I hate this image. So I'm gonna go through and switch it out. File, image, placement, lovely. I'm going to auto fit it. I'm gonna fit it proportionately. I always get confused about which one of these two to use. But don't worry, we're gonna look at another fancy way in a second. So that's done. I hate that image, so I have done that one, ticked it. You can tick it or delete it. Click on it, it'll jump to it. So my approved is there, but the stamp doesn't come through. So I'm just gonna get rid of that. Another stamp, get rid of that. What else we got? Overset. So remember the highlighting appears, it doesn't print. So if I go back to preview, it disappears. Cool, huh? They're totally right. It's totally overset. So now I've done that one. Now this is where it gets really cool. Okay, so marking it up is one thing, but actually adjusting text is where I find this thing super amazing. So this is all being stroked through, remember? I can click accept and whoops, that's the wrong one. I did strike through down here as well. So such is gone, but look at this first paragraph, really? I don't know why I'm adding. No, where's the one? Needs to go, there it is. Click. Oh, I just deleted the paragraph. Left the return in there. So there might be some kind of workflow you might have to work out with your commenter or your editor. And this one here as well. So we've done that one. Where's the, I don't know what I made. There it is. So let's add this. It was in, where was it? We might have to click it and see. Accept. There it is. I don't know what I'm adding. There it is there. So you can just say edit and it just adds it in. And if you're going to be like my editor, Margaret, she does all of the text editing for me. She might just delete this whole thing, put a big strike through with it and add her own big chunk. You'll need to work out a workflow that works right for you. Anything else that's in there? Oh yeah, there's some lines in there. Goodbye lines. A couple of things you can do is instead of going through them one by one, say you trust them completely, you can just go up to here and say, actually, just apply all of them. I've already gone through and applied them separately. Where you can say, I want to delete them all, collapse them all, tidy them all up so they're all nice and clean so you can see them. Other things you can do is you can, this is the other option is, I'm going to undo. You can just turn them off so you can't see them. Okay, just turn the hide comments on and off. They don't print. So you can just leave them on, but I love the workflow. It is super handy. It's not as good as, if you're liking that and you're like, man, I wish there was a more complicated, not complicated, I wish there was more features to that, then you might want to look into InCopy. It goes hand in hand with InDesign. Often what will happen is the designer will be using InDesign and whoever is in charge of the copywriting will be using InCopy. And why do they have two separate ones? Because ones are really focused on text amends, and you can do cool things where you lock things like images and layouts and fonts choices to just a few little options. So the designer gets to say, you can do this much, editor, but not more. And the editor gets a really purpose-built text editing software. All right, on to the next feature. It's called Content Aware Fit. Okay, so we're going to close this down. Where we're going to do it, we'll do it here. So I'm on page 3. And what I want to do is content aware fit. We've done auto fitting with images already. Remember this one up the top here. So what I want to do is show you that very new feature for fitting, and it's pretty clever. It's kind of using some sort of Adobe Sensei machine learning AI. It's probably one of those things. Let's bring in a bunch of images, right? And so file, I'm going to place. Can't help that. Shortcuts, Command D that I use. Oh, look, we use the properties panel. Come on. So I'm going to bring in an image. I am going to bring in these 3. So shift click the top one and then the last one, and you select all 3. Click open, and I want all 3 of these images. You can kind of see if I use my right arrow on my keyboard, they're all different. I picked images that had really different ratios and formats. There's like a square one and a long thin one and a portrait one. Okay, and that's just my arrow keys on my keyboard. And I want to put them all down at the same time. This is not the shortcuts, by the way. This is not the feature, at least. This is just called Gridify, and a lot of people don't know it. So if you hold down the Command and Shift key on a Mac or Control Shift on a PC and drag out, you can see I get this grid of images. Okay, so I'm holding down the Command Shift on a Mac or Control Shift on a PC. And the other little trick for this is you can use your arrow key. So you can let go of Control Shift, keep holding the mouse down, and you can use up to add more, down to remove them, left, right, okay, just to kind of add extras. You can use page up, can you see page down? We'll do the spaces in between them. Anyway, we need 3 images. I'm gonna kind of line them up here. I go about that sort of size. You're like, hey, that happens all the time, because nobody ever gets the perfect ratio images, right? So you end up doing things like this option, you're like, oh yeah, but see this person at the top? Okay, that one's not too bad. Let's have a look. So I'm gonna do a couple of options. I'm gonna duplicate it. So I've got, let's actually do it all over here. With a bit of space. So this option, I'll do this option, and we'll do a third option. So that's how it came in. We're going to use this first option, and you can see it fills the image inside the frame, which is cool, but it's done some weird stuff with the people, and I got to go and amend it. Imagine if there was a clever little button that looked like this that somehow went off and worked out clever things like where people's faces were and compositions and ready. Takes a little while, But look at that. Okay, this first one's not a big deal. When I was practicing, it did make a big difference, so I will try and break it and see if I can make it work. But this one here is very clear, right? It's gone through and picked the kind of head and shoulders. So it's called content aware fit, and it's just very clever. Let's see if I can break this one again. So instead of using that ratio, let's use something else. Let's do a couple of options, different shapes. One of them I did, and it really looked good. I'm trying to prove to you it works. So 2 options. This top one here, we're going to use our fit to frame. And then this one here, we're going to go content aware. Give it a second. Takes a little bit longer. It's analyzing stuff. It's a pretty high res image as well. Cool, huh? It's heads in it. It's not clipped off. That's kind of what I meant before. This one here is not too different. It's a little bit, like not as big a gap at the top there. So will this change my life forever? No, but it's quite handy. It's no adjust layout, but it's definitely one of the more sexy things that have gone into InDesign. AI, machine learning, Adobe Sensei. But if you are dealing with garden furniture, it's not going to do much. I played around with this for quite a while to try and find good examples, and I tried to find like maybe product shots that it did it well with. It does really well with people. It's like, that's its like major feature. Anything else, yeah, it's not perfect. But this is the first version of it. I imagine if you're looking at this and it's a year from now, it's the end of 2018, by the way, you might be using it and it's just phenomenally more better. Those aren't really words, but you get what I mean, right? It's going to get better and better. Now it's not like that's the default. That's the weird default. You can turn this on by default. Okay, so you can go to, on a Mac, go to InDesign Preferences and go to General. If you're on a PC, go to Edit. Right down here somewhere is Preferences, then go to General. And where is it? Bottom feature here, make it the default. Now I totally would. It takes a little bit longer, but it definitely gives you a better starting point than this original default. But I gotta turn mine off because I'm a teacher and I need mine to look like everyone else's, like this. But if I wasn't, I'd be turning it on. All right, thank you very much. You go down here and let's get on to the next feature. All right, next feature is secretly my most favorite, but it's not very sexy and you can't really start a video with, let's look at this thing that's really just kind of basic, but really helpful. So it's like number 4 on my list, but you're probably gonna love this as much as I do. So let's look at the problem it solves. So bullet points. I selected all this. I'm gonna make it a bullet point using our properties panel. But I want the spacing between just these bullets because it's using the spacing from the body copy. I'm going to say, actually, you guys, can you just have a paragraph? I wish this, I don't know why, a paragraph I use quite a bit, so I might have to have that panel open a bit because clicking these little dotted lines is a bit of a pain. But let's say I'm going to have it at, say, 0. I just want it to kind of stack underneath each other. So you see it a paragraph style for these bullets. You're like, great. But then I want something different at the bottom one. So the last of the bullets needs another paragraph style that does some spacing back to 10. Same as the rest of it. And if you want some spacing above the bullet list, you're going to have to put in another paragraph style that does this. You end up with 3 paragraph styles to make a pretty simple bullet point list. But now I'm going to undo loads. So the next feature, well, the new feature is, let's say the same thing, bullet points, and you're going to have to open up your paragraph panel. And this is the new option. Doesn't have a very good name, space between paragraphs using same style. And it's a little bit Inception-y. Okay, it's very hard to explain. It took me ages to kind of like get my head around it. So I'm going to try my best to explain it nicely for you. But if you do find later on, you're like, man, it's worth working out though. So what we're going to do is we're going to ignore this one. Okay, what we're going to say is this thing here, the space between paragraphs using the same style, I would like this to be 0. Okay, so it's all stacked up next to each other, but you can see we get the gaps either side. So what it's doing is it says, as long as the style repeats, so this one here, actually let's make it a style. Doesn't actually have to be an official style, just has to be different from the one above it. So I'm going to call this to make it clearer. So I've got bullets, and this one here you can see is body copy. So what it's saying is, as long as bullets is followed by bullets, I will be 0. Where is it? It's this one here. And this one here as well. Bullets follow bullets, so I will be 0. This one here. Unless the style changes. So bullets becomes body copy. So what ends up happening is it uses this other option. So if bullets follows bullets, it's 0, unless it's different, and it's going to use this option. So I could grab all this side and I could say, I could increase. It doesn't have to be the same as body copy. This is just do this unless the style changes, then do this. Did that help explain it? So that becomes like the main one you use between styles. That's like the hardcore one. And this is the option that only happens if the style changes. So I'm going to go back to 10 because that's what I wanted. All right, I re-recorded that a couple of times. So that's my best one. So I'm going to stop there because the next one might not be as clear. Play with it because it is amazing. I think so. Let's say this one here now, because I've spent the time doing the style. Watch this. Ready? Body cop, bullets. Oh, look at that. And one more thing I want to show you for good measure, and it's not in the properties panel, which is, this is like, okay, I'm going to have to go back to the control panel. I like it too much and I know where everything is. So keep the properties, awesome, but I'm going to use the control panel if it ever opens. And what I'm looking for, if you don't know this one, get ready to be amazed. This is not a new feature, it just happens to be awesome. So make sure you're on your paragraph, and down here, there's split to. Look at that. No crazy tabs panel. Just you can split it by 3 or 2. Mine doesn't fit with 3. It's too small. But you get the idea, right? And while we're there for good measure, you can say the same thing. For this, instead of splitting it, you can span. I'm going to get it to span across all of them. That can be kind of handy for stuff. It's not really what I want here, but a little bonus. All right, next feature time. So this one's not as good looking as the other ones, okay, but for a few people, this is going to be pretty useful. I'm going to delete this. What I want to do is get this table that I've got here into one column. Okay, footnotes. Not a very exciting topic, but fundamental to the desktop publishing game. Let's say I want to add a footnote to this text here. Okay, in earlier versions, 2018 and earlier, okay, you couldn't go up to type and add insert footnote. This is just grayed out. Wouldn't work in a table. Or you can use the new properties panel. Getting used to it. Okay, and I can now insert footnotes into tables. Paste it in. I've already added a style to it. I'm going to add another one. All right, another one. And that's all I really need to show you, really. You just do footnotes in tables. But it does segue into the next new feature in InDesign 2019. And to do what I want to show you, let's add endnote. So footnotes are at the bottom of the page. Endnotes at the end of the document, or at least your text box. So I'm going to insert one here. Endnote. You can see it's just kind of jumped all the way to the end of my text frame. Okay, I'm going to add one more in there. So a new feature, it's quite handy, is you can convert one to the other. So what I'm going to do is I've got my cursor flashing anywhere in the text box that you're working with. Okay, this is a nice long linked text box. I'm going to say type. There's one here that says convert footnotes to endnotes. Instead of them being up here, where are they? There they are. Okay, I can say type, convert to endnotes, please. And you can say footnotes or endnotes. Scope, you can look through the whole document or just the selection that you have selected. I'm just going to do the whole document. Found 2 of them, and let's check it out. Cool, huh? I'm not sure why I've got a return in there. You can go back the other way as well, which is cool. The weird thing is it's in the same place. Watch this. So I want to turn the endnotes back into footnotes. So type, and you can see here, there's no endnote to footnote. They just lump them both together. So even though I want to do the opposite of what this says, doesn't really matter. I can just switch it here. They go back to their home places. Done. Endnotes are gone. I'm going to get rid of that text, but hopefully now, where is my table? That one, they're all there on the page with a return. Once I'm finished this video, I'll work out why. But for the moment, you can do footnotes inside tables, yay! And you can convert endnotes to footnotes and footnotes to endnotes. Where I find this most useful is when you're bringing in stuff from Word and somebody's used endnotes in one document and footnotes in the other, and you've got a kind of a style guide to follow. We need to switch them around. Now you can. All right, let's go to the next feature. Now the next feature is not really a feature, it's a missing thing. And this is a test. Okay, so you need to tell me what is missing from what we're gonna do now. Okay, something's gone. It's a Scooby-Doo mystery, you're part of it. So I'm going to go and package my document. Okay, so I need to send it to a client or the printer, or I need to archive it. So file package, I'm going to go and click package, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to put it onto my desktop. I'm going to call it newsletter folder. I'm going to click package, missing fonts, sure thing. I got overset text. Sorry about that. Should fix it. Now something happened there something didn't happen there. Do you guess what it was? It's that annoying printing instructions thing that it always asks you to fill out that you never do. Okay, so it's just, they've removed it. You can turn it back on. So if I go to package, it's this thing here. Well, package, and I'll show you. Remember that thing that you've never filled in? but it comes up every time. Now there might be people who do fill this in, okay? I can see the point of it, but I know if I send this to any of my printers, not one of them is gonna open it to check it. But you might be in a different kind of production line where this is quite good, so you can turn it back on, or like me, gonna go and make sure it's off forever, never to come back. All right, so it's not really a feature, but it's worth mentioning, right? All right, next feature is a visual font browsing. Okay, so I'm gonna click on some text, and in my properties panel over here under character, you'll notice that this pop out is got a whole lot different. Okay, so it's a lot bigger, and a couple of things have happened. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make this bigger. I'm gonna select the text first. You don't have to do this, but over here, the new features are you can decide this drop down. I think the default is selected text. So can you see the little icons in, the little sample text is actually what I have selected over here, Cafe Growth. Because we all know we pick a font from here and it looks good in the kind of preview, but with our particular characters, it just doesn't look good. So it's easy to do this. Often I like switching it to typography for some reason. It's just got a lot of the ascenders and descenders. It's a good kind of, I guess, generic look at a font. You can also go in here and pick Hungry Roger Hungry 8. Okay, yeah, so you can decide on these. I'm going to switch it back to select the text. There's one in there as well, upper. I find that sometimes quite useful, and numbers. Back to typography. You can also change the preview size. See this little icon here? It's kind of handy because we're just dealing with one word. I'm going to use the larger size. The other thing you might notice that you can see when I roll over it, can you see updating the text over there? Okay, over there, back over here. So that never used to happen as well. Kind of a live text preview. It updates as you're working through it. The other big thing they've done with typography is they've actually kind of removed the need to jump out to Typekit. So if you've used Typekit before, you go to the website, pick a font, download it. They've done it actually built in, which is cool. It's called Find More. Okay, not very exciting, but actually this, crazily, is fonts that aren't on your computer. They're actually just on Typekit. These are just thousands and thousands of fonts that you can just start using. So they've done away with the jumping in and jumping back out. It's just, you just do it by hitting Find More. The other things you'll note is that they've called it Adobe Fonts now. It used to be called Typekit. So Adobe have done away with that name now, and now Typekit is just Adobe Fonts. And what's really cool about it is, let's say, where's a font that we want? And let's say we're gonna use filters. Filters have been around for a while, but people don't use them, man, they're so cool. So I'm gonna say I want some script fonts. I want handwritten fonts. Okay, so I'm now looking at Typekit, all the handwritten fonts, and you can see that it hovers above it, and I can say, actually, just download this to my computer now. I'm going to activate it. Yes, please. And it's downloading it. You can see it's syncing there, and I'll just have Adorn on my computer. And as long as I continue with my Creative Cloud license, okay, keep paying for that, you're going to keep having fonts. You see there, it's updated, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So no more jumping out to Da Font or 1001 free fonts. Unless you need a cactus-shaped font. Pretty sure it's the only place to get those. Just click on the Find More and use your filters to kind of cut it down to stuff like, instead of handwritten, you might be picking slab serif fonts, or you can look at these ones at the different X heights. Maybe you need a condense width. Just super handy filters for finding fonts on Typekit. Super quick, super easy, and then just downloading them within the app. It'll be available in all apps, so it'll be available in Illustrator and Photoshop now, and hopefully now Adore. There it is there. Nice. On my computer, ready to roll. The other thing to note with the change of Typekit to Adobe Fonts is that, show me the old version. So the old version, if I went into fonts here, remember this thing here, add from Typekit. So that's changed. Now it's just Find Font. And here, this one here, the Typekit, I used to use this quite a bit because I want to see all the Typekit fonts. So they've changed that icon to look like this now. So if you want to see on your computer all of the Typekit fonts, or the new Adobe fonts, just click on that. It's the ones that have been activated. And then you can go through and pick ones from the ones you've downloaded from Typekit. Another handy feature that they've updated in here is this option. So I'm going to turn off my activated fonts, and I'm going to turn on the ones that are recently added. This is just really handy. Like if you've installed fonts, you can see here, Adorn just at the top, just the recently added fonts. So you might have installed them through InDesign or Photoshop, or you might have gone through and done it with Fontbook or Suitcase. Anybody still use Suitcase? However you've installed a font on your machine, it'll just be like, show me the new ones, please. Cool, huh? Make sure you turn them off when you're filtering though. And one last thing they've done is that they've gone and moved a couple of things that were handy that were along the top here. And these two little icons, they used to be up here. Now, if you hover above the text, can you see they're just next to the type? And it's show visually similar and make a favorite. So if you're using Como, it's a new font, you want to add it to your favorites, click it there. I'm going to add that one, I'm going to add this one, I'm going to add that one to my favorites. So instead of having to scroll down your giant font list, okay, what you can do is you can say, just show me the ones I'm allowed to use. Really handy if you're in like a corporate environment where you do only have like 2 fonts, 2 different weights and 2 fonts. There's no point scrolling. Just set favorites on them and then click this little star up here. Turn it off by clicking it again. And one other little feature they've moved, and it's just kind of cool, is like, say you like this one, but you're like, actually show me the visually similar ones. That's this little double wave. And it's pretty clever. I don't know how it does it, but you can see we had great vibes, but look at all these fonts that are very, very, very similar. They're on my computer. All right, so that is visual font browsing. It's updated in Adobe Illustrator this year as well. So you'll see the same thing in there. The one thing with the visually similar one, you need to go to this little back button to say, get out of there, please. All right, next feature. All right, the next feature is more just a thing that happens that's quite handy. So when I go to File Export, what happened in the past was, let's say this thing here needed to be an interactive PDF. I'm going to click Save and zoom through it all. So I exported an interactive PDF, and then I went to a completely different document that had nothing to do with the first one. It's not meant to be a PDF interactive, but InDesign just remember the last thing you did. But now what happens, let's say in this case, this guy's meant to be a print, or it might be reflowable, EPUB, or fixed layout, might be JPEGs, whatever you're doing, it's going to remember per document now. Okay, so that one was a PDF, that was interactive PDF. In the old version, if I went to export again now, it'd say, hey, do you mean, look, it's remembered. Remember that this guy was an interactive PDF and this guy was a PDF, and you could have another thing that's a EPUB, another one that does JPEGs. So it's per document now, which is real handy. We've all got it right. You've got like 10 different documents open that need to go out. They have all their own different formats. Now they're going to remember. And the crazy thing is that they remember across. So if I send this to a different computer, a colleague or my home computer, it's going to remember there too. And it kind of segues into another option. Let's another kind of feature. If I go to File Export, there's this thing that wasn't there before. So what I'm going to do is on my desktop, I'm going to export this one. So that's using, can you see it's using the exact same name I've got my InDesign document. Whereas in the past, what would happen is if I untick that, I would call this one maybe V1.1 or low res or something else, and I exported it. And when I went back into export, it remembered the last thing I called it. Now with this option on, it's going to always default to whatever the document name is. So it's on by default. And you can see here it says it's only going to work the next time I do this. So I'm just going to skip through all this. The reason I show you that is because you might rely on it, because that's the way it used to work, and it's going to default. Can you see it's defaulting to the name of the file again? So if you liked the old way where it added like, because sometimes you have a working file and it's just got a terrible name and you've got to rename it for a specific job or something, and it's great that it remembers it. It's not going to now unless you turn that off. It's a solution to a problem I never had, but I'm sure obviously somebody had it because Adobe has gone and added it there. But just know you can untick it and go back to the way it was. All right, next feature, please. Actually, the next feature is the last feature. And before you run away, just a quick little request from me. If you enjoyed what I've done here, could you give me a like? Consider subscribing to the channel. It really truly does help me and my training pursuits. And if you want to upgrade yourself, you might think about the InDesign Advanced course. Or if you want to get back to the fundamentals, my InDesign Essentials course. Just Google my name, Daniel Scott, and either of those courses and you'll find me. All right, on to the last feature. There's actually 2 of them. Now, actually, this is the second to last feature. And the last 2 are here just because you're going to see them on the list of things that Adobe says, look what we did. And when I saw it, I was like, this is going to be awesome. And then I tested it out and it doesn't really work. Well, it kind of works, but it's not the exciting update I thought it might be. So PDF forms are in InDesign. They've been in there forever. Okay, not forever, but a while. And one of the things is you use InDesign to make it look real pretty, but the text fields always default to, is it Myriad? I can never remember. Minion. Okay, what you can do now, or what they said in the feature, was that you can change this to a custom font. So you can go in here and double click it and say, this text field that your audience can type in, you can pick a custom font. Okay, so you can pick anything from here. And that is true, kind of, but it will actually only work. So you can tell it to be that font and you test it on your machine and it'll be this Kumo, which is actually quite a cool font. But this feature will only work if the user has that font on their machine. And this is a Komu. It was actually downloaded from Adobe Fonts, so they're definitely not going to have it. So you can get away with a little bit. You could say, actually, I want this to be Arial, okay, instead of Myriad. You could pick Comic Sans or Papyrus or Brush Script, and they might work on a computer, but I'd come and find you though and take away your computer. But they're common enough that it might actually work, but it's a guess. I guess it's just not a solution. And the last other one while we're here is they've mentioned that you can, there's support for SVG fonts. So can you see these OpenType SVG? Okay, they're just a new version, a way of using fonts. And you'll see some of them, most of them are OpenType, some of them are TrueType, but you'll find some SVG ones. Now, the problem with SVG OpenType fonts is that the support across everything in InDesign is not 100%. And all they said in their documentation is there's more support. I think what it's meaning is that they're actually being supported in Publish Online now. So if you were using a font like that and it was giving you issues, it's going to work now in Publish Online. But I think they're still having problems with other export options. But I'm not 100%. I don't do enough EPUB to test it. But yeah, that's on the list. It's not very exciting. I thought I'd mention it here at the end. Let's now jump to the live version of me and we'll do a little bit of an outro and kind of next steps for you. Take it away, real me. All right, it's the real me and that's the real you and you made it to the end. Well done. Long video, lots of updates. I hope you enjoyed them. A little bonus because you made it to the end. There is a cheat sheet or a keyboard shortcut sheet. Okay, it's free. You can download it from bringyourownlaptop.com and go to the resources tab. Okay, free. Download it, print it off, stick it next to your computer. The other thing you might do is I've done videos for updates for this is InDesign 2019. I've done ones for Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, Premiere, Dreamweaver, XD. I did them for all the products that I know well. So go check out those as well. All right, that is us, my friend. I will see you in another video sometime soon. Hi, da-da. Bye-bye.